A reading from the Gospel of Mark, the 3rd chapter. Jesus departed with his disciples to the sea, and a great multitude from Galilee followed him. Hearing all that he was doing, they came up to him in great numbers from Judea, Jerusalem, Idumea, beyond the Jordan, and the region around Tyre and Sidon. He told his disciples to have a boat ready for him because of the crowd, so that they would not crush him. For he had cured many, so that all who had diseases pressed upon him to touch him. Whenever the unclean spirits saw him, they fell down before him and shouted, "You are the Son of God." But he sternly ordered them not to make him known. He went up the mountain and called to him those whom he wanted, and they came to him. And he appointed 12, whom he also named apostles, to be with him and to be sent out to proclaim the message and to have authority to cast out demons. So he appointed the 12, Simon, to whom he gave the name Peter, James, son of Zebedee, and John, the brother of James, to whom he gave the name Boanerges, that is, sons of thunder, and Andrew, and Philip, and Bartholomew, and Matthew, and Thomas, and James, son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, and Simon the Canaanian, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. The Gospel of the Lord. Two places in creation mark the settings of our reading for this evening: the sea and the mountain. The sea, that symbol of all that is chaotic in this world, where crowds follow Jesus and gather from every direction, seeking cures for their diseases, and to hear his teaching with authority. The mountain, that place of revelation where God shows up in great and powerful ways and speaks words of command and promise. Abraham, Moses, and Elijah all had their own powerful encounters with the holy God on mountains. Now, echoing these events, God's handiwork is evident in calling and sending the 12. In the story, Jesus has just healed a man with a withered hand in the synagogue on the Sabbath day and caused quite a stir among the Pharisees, who are now conspiring with the Herodians against Jesus. Such is the consequence of disrupting the status quo with the nearness of the reign of God. Now Jesus has departed with his disciples to the sea. The center of the Jesus movement is not a place, but his person. So the center becomes wherever he was. The center is on the move throughout the region, and there is a great following. Even as opposition grows to Jesus, so too does the crowd that follows him from place to place throughout the region. Let the geography tell the story. Judea, Jerusalem, Idumea, and beyond the Jordan, and the region of Tyre and Sidon, from the south to the east and the north, word of Jesus is spreading. Great multitudes from every direction are coming to him. Even in the face of opposition from the powers that be, the crowds continue to grow larger. The people are so numerous that an escape plan is made ready for Jesus to keep him from being crushed by the crowds. And beyond the sheer number of people, the fact that they are pressing in on Jesus shows urgency for their need of healing. And the good news for all the people is that this is for them. This good news that Jesus embodies, that Jesus has come to proclaim, it is not bound by geography or worthiness or any tribal identity. It is for all the people and for all of creation. It is also important to keep in mind that Jesus' compassion for the people in curing their diseases and in casting out demons is more than mere pity for them. But his compassion is focused on wholeness and on justice on behalf of all who are in need. And here by the sea, the location of concentrated chaotic power, Jesus can demonstrate his power and his authority to bring life and healing out of chaos and disease. And once again, it is the unclean spirits who recognize that Jesus is the Son of God. This hidden identity of Jesus that the reader is given privilege to know from the beginning, but only becomes fully revealed in the story at Jesus' death on the cross and in the eyes of one of the centurion standing watch. In this little summary, we are given a preview of what is to come. More opposition, increasing crowds, healings, and this mysterious power of Jesus to teach with authority and bring new life to the people. The word of Jesus' power and authority has spread throughout the region and even into Gentile lands. This spreading shows us that his gospel, the good news he embodies, needs people to proclaim it. The promise must be spoken. Yes, it will stir up opposition, but it will also draw people from the farthest reaches beyond every border of region and people, even the limits of our own imaginations, will be pushed farther in every direction to bring wholeness and justice to all the suffering ones. The escape of Jesus from the crushing force of the crowds and the need for people to carry out Jesus' ministry of proclaiming the message and casting out demons takes us up the mountain where Jesus calls together those whom he wanted. Hearkening back to the 12 tribes of Israel and recasting this ancient sign of God's chosen people, Jesus appoints 12 whom he also named apostles. Apostle means those who are sent. This is the embodiment of God's people in a new age. So it is these 12 who are with him and then sent out with authority to continue the ministry of sharing the gospel promise and casting out unclean spirits. Here on the mountain, a place mysteriously between heaven and earth, Jesus names the apostles sent out in his name. As we see the widening reach of the gospel, we also see its mystery deepen, especially with the inclusion of the 12th apostle named in that list, Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. Mark's story has barely begun, and already Mark is telling us where this story is going. One of his own will betray him. Lest we be too harsh on Judas, Peter the rock will deny him 3 times and then weep at the cock's crow for his actions. And as one scholar noted wryly, who knew rocks could cry? Still, all of the appointed 12 will become deserters of Jesus before he breathes his final breath on the cross. Jesus will be handed over. The gospel of Jesus' person and God's kingdom purposes will be met with failure. The means by which Jesus will meet his demise is made known precisely here on the mountain of Revelation. Here on this mountain we live in the tension of God's call through Jesus to appoint and even rename some to this apostolic ministry and the wider sowing of this gospel. But in this wider sowing, the seed of betrayal and failure, even death, is also now taking root and life. We don't know why Jesus chose these to be his apostles. Perhaps it was to show throughout all the ages that there are no particular requirements. There are no special qualifications needed for this ministry. And Jesus chooses them and us, despite the failures that he knows they and we will face. Pastor Brant Copeland helps us imagine the personalities of Jesus' apostles in the life of a contemporary congregation. Peter resembles the chair of the stewardship committee, who tells the congregation she is doubling her pledge, but fails to follow through. The congregation thinks she is God's gift to fundraising, but the treasurer knows better. Simon the Zealot is the deacon who takes 5 minutes for a minute of mission during worship. Before he opens his mouth, the congregation has stopped listening. They have heard it all before. In James, one can see the sister who lords it over the choir from her seat in the alto section. In John, one sees the brother who takes offense if his name is left off a thank you list in the newsletter. Their mother, she is the helicopter parent who keeps texting her child during the youth group lock-in and torments the youth director with incessant emails. But after having been with Jesus, they are sent out with power and authority to accomplish amazing things. Peter is still Rocky the impetuous. James and John are still the sons of importunity. Simon's zealotry still makes him hard to live with. However, their life with Jesus makes them living proof that the reign of God has begun. Mountains are places of revelation, and the ascendant climb fill us with great expectations. On the mountain, we are changed, even as we remain who we are. New names and vocations are given, and we are sent out. But broken dreams are also part of our reality. We share this great and glorious good news, and then are met with opposition and dismissal. Our high hopes are dashed by the brokenness that besets our lives and our world. We are not perfect. Jesus knows that and sends us anyway with power and authority to proclaim the gospel of God's kingdom and cast out all the unclean spirits that keep everyone in every place from knowing the wholeness and justice of God's compassion and mercy.